You're listening to the Professional Triers. Vinny's sitting on Santa Claus's lap. Good boy, Vinny. Here's Vinny and JR.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Professional Triers. Today, we have a very special guest. He is the guy who organizes and does so much work for the Florida Mega Mini, or I'm screwing up the name. I know it has a fancy name. Ed will have to tell us what it is. And he also does a lot of work for xEssentials and makes that so awesome. But let me first introduce my co-host, Vinny.
You always say my name with so much disgust. It's always, every time it's Vinny. Although that is a little seductive that way.
Yeah.
Not sure which way I like it more.
And our special guest, Ed Smith.
Hello. How y'all doing?
Good, Ed. How are you tonight?
Good.
Anytime I get a chance to hang out with two great, awesome guys like you, it's wonderful.
You must have a meeting right after this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been drinking a little before we got started, so.
Awesome. That's usually a requirement for this show.
Excellent.
So, Ed, why don't you tell us a little about yourself, where you live, your family, your career, and other hobbies than Christmas?
Sure. So I am a native Floridian, one of the few. Lived here my whole life. I live just outside of Tampa in a master plan community. And I've done so for almost 15 years now. So I've got a beautiful wife, a stay-at-home mom, and a almost 10-year-old little girl. So enjoying the wonderful Florida life. Up until a year ago, I was a real estate appraiser that specialized in senior housing properties. So I would fly all over the United States. I'm licensed in 27 states, have been to all of them, have appraised property in 47 of them, but they're all like senior housing. So assisted livings, independent livings, skilled nursing facilities. So I've always had a passion for Christmas lights for longest time. So I guess we'll get into that a little later, but I have a true joy for that. Also a true desire to learn and to be educated. So that's a little background on me.
This has got to be the smartest guy we've ever had on the show, Vinny.
Now, be careful. I mean, think of our guests so far. Think of our guests so far. David Peace, Robert, Clyde, Jordan Nash, Russell McFarlane.
They're all smarter than us.
And now you're going to say Ed Smith beats all of them? And that is in no way me putting down Ed.
No, I've met some of those guys.
That is a tough competition there.
Yeah.
I think he might know more about X-Lights than anybody else, though.
It's probably a good competition.
Well, those guys, some of them are professionals that sincerely are involved in the program every day. So they're head and shoulders, I think, way above me. And Jordan, truly a professional in all he does in the video world, and all those guys. So top notch in every way. So
agreed.
Definitely good guys.
You have been working really hard for the last few years on the Florida Mini. Tell us about that. The Florida Mini, the JR couldn't get the name of it. So what is it correctly called? And tell us about it.
Yeah. So I started, just doing a static Christmas display. After we got married, we would do bigger and bigger, and we had a neighborhood light show or a neighborhood competition and all. And we often won first place. I think just about every year we won first place in that. And but I'd seen these animated displays, and Richard Holdman, his video went viral, and I was all excited once I saw what he had done. And so I had searched on the internet, found Planet Christmas, and then there was this group called Florida Planet Christmas. And so they were getting together and meeting, and this was I think February, March of 2010. So they had a group meeting in Orlando, went to it, about, I think it's 20, 25 people involved in it. So that was the very first year of it. On a side note, they had a newbie award. And so I got I think a $25 gift certificate from Janice Blasco, who's the owner of Christmas Expo. And this is before the ladies bought Christmas Expo, and they had Christmas Light Finder. So that business had given away the $25 gift certificate, and I got my display going. And so I went that first year, the next year it was held in Orlando, and then the next year Tallahassee. So after 3 years, the leaders of the group basically were kind of done with it. And I stepped up the plate with a couple others, with Catherine Bear and Calvin and everything. And so put in a lot of time and effort to build that up. We've been in Orlando now every year for, I think, since 2013. So when I first got involved, I think 25 folks were at that year. This past year, I think we had 133 or 137 folks at the past Christmas at Florida. So originally the name was Florida Planet Christmas. Then we made it Florida Mini. And this year, after going over 100 folks, we called it a Mega Mini. So we wanted to rebrand it. Most mini groups, are in that 40 to 60 range. And we kind of felt like we had outgrown that, and kind of a marketing thing to call it a Mega Mini. So that's how we rebranded it with that. So
I was right. Yes.
You got the name right. Long way to get there, but yeah. Sorry, long story went on and on, but long way to get there. But yeah, that gives you all the background on it. So it is Florida Mega Mini, and just something to differentiate our group from a normal mini.
The pictures online and everything, you definitely have a lot of cool stuff going on in it. It's definitely cool.
Well, and that's a great thing about going to a mini is it's different from online education. First off, just the networking and meeting people and hanging out afterwards. And, that's probably the best thing about going to any educational event, that there is any expo or Trans World or whatever. It's just being surrounded by Christmas people. And Christmas people are a unique breed, generally always helpful, trying to, advance the Christmas spirit or help out in some way. And it's a real different type of person that's involved in this hobby. So that's one of the great things about it. And so when you go to these things, sometimes you'll learn a few things, sometimes you won't, but it's always hanging out with people and catching up with people throughout the years that really is the most fun of any of these events. So
yeah, I think when I was at Trans World, I think the nighttime events were more fun than walking around the trade show.
Absolutely. Well, and over the past couple of years, the way that, first we did Team Viewer with Sean. Sean would do nightly or weekly educational things with Team Viewer for X Lights. And then the Zoom room, came about. And so just hanging out with people on a daily or weekly basis has really transformed. You've gotten to know people that are located hundreds and thousands of miles away from you that you've never, you wouldn't normally in your, normal group of friends that you really consider friends. So I think all of us in the world, it's allowed us to make really great friends at really long distances. So.
Yeah, that's how me and Vinny ended up being friends.
Unfortunately, still to this day, it's unfortunate, but I agree. When you go to those minis and things like that, it's the people that you meet. It's the people, the networking. That's really what it became down to. So, I have to ask this question before I forget, even though I wrote it down. we're going back. You said that you have appraised houses in 47 of the 50 states.
No. So I've appraised.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So let me tell you, I never have appraised a home in my life. I don't even know how to appraise a home. I appraise when I was working properties valued at 50 million and above. So I've done several billion. I did 3 to 5 billion a year in valuation, sometimes up to 10 billion. And so the properties I were doing were, multiple, pretty large properties. So
you would evaluate those properties?
So like if you want to, if you want to build, let's say, an assisted living, I want to bore everybody to death, but if you want to build a property, you've got to have cash flows on what that property is going to produce. And so, it could be a, $40 or $50 million project, or the projects I dealt with when I first started doing it was only 10 million. And then, my threshold went up. So I handled pretty much most of the complex properties that were, 50 million and up. And also I did testimony. I did expert witness testimony. So, I'm qualified in bankruptcy court and tax appeals and things like that. So I don't want to bore you, but that's what I did.
See, I was going to ask, what were the 3 states that you hadn't gone to?
I have appraised, the only one's Alaska, South Dakota, and I believe Louisiana. So those are the only 3. I've been to all those states, but never appraised property in those states. So Hawaii was a big, so most people wouldn't think you would go to Hawaii, but I've done a lot of work in Hawaii and 3 different islands I've done work on. So, so one of the things is, when you have children, you want to be more a stay at home and not travel. So when I was younger, I used to travel pretty extensively. And as time went on, I would do day trips. So I'd fly from Florida to Philadelphia and back in the same day. And that can be a grueling activity when you get up at 3, 4 in the morning and are out on the 5:15 flight and then get back at midnight. It's really tough, but you don't want to have any disruption to your family, and you don't want to miss any of the things the kids are involved in, or everything. So, but
totally understand.
Yeah.
So what do you think, JR? Should we get to the meat and potatoes of this?
Yep. Let's do that. So, Ed, can you explain what xEssentials is for somebody who may not know what it is?
So xEssentials is a weekly presentation done every Wednesday night at 8 Eastern. And basically it's on a display related topic. So it could be in something related to X lights, although probably only 20 to 30% of the topics are related to X lights, because we want to have a broader appeal and have it a display related issue. So it could be something how to promote your display, or FM transmitters, or the hardware you use in the display, or any bit of random topic that would help somebody learn something or think of something in a different way. Because, in this hobby we're doing, there is no owner's manual. There's nothing, you can, buy a book on and immediately know how to do these things. So, and Facebook is a very unorganized method of learning how to do things, and the search function kind of stinks. So, there was a video, the xlights.org website had a video section. And so, xEssentials basically was created to basically provide an educational topic each week, and then it would be followed by the normal help session that's gone on. So I was on the calls for about 1.5 years, 2 years before I started xEssentials. And I said, well, why don't we try to do this? Because we would start with this help session call and nobody would need to be helped, or there wasn't anything to discuss. And I said, well, why don't we try to do a presentation? And so most everybody kind of thought it was a stupid idea, and thought that, didn't think that it would work. And so I convinced a group of people. I said, well, how about we just do a 12-week trial run? And that was last year. And I chose 12 topics that I thought was interesting to try to help new people coming into the hobby, as well as old people that